there, welcome back. Another week of shows. That's me back for another week. It's going to be a interesting week. I'm starting with a controversial film. In the middle of the week I'm going towards the Middle East. Then I go to a Killer Ants movie. So obviously I've got a good mix. So hope you enjoy. So the first video of the week is a double bill of Cronenberg. I'm going to alternate Cronenberg and De Palma films, really. That's my plan, really, because I've got De Palma stuff I want to do, but also some Cronenberg films I'm really keen to do as well, so I thought I'd just alternate them because they're both like genre directors. It'd be quite good up to Halloween to be able to do that, and even beyond Halloween, to switch between two directors who are very different from each other, but still work kind of in genre, but also they move out of genre as well, so they're interesting directors who are known as genre directors, but there's a lot of other stuff going on with them. So for Cronenberg I'm doing double bill. Cronenberg I'm doing both The Dead Zone and Crash. I'll start with The Dead Zone. The Dead Zone is Cronenberg's most mainstream film, objectively his most mainstream film. Probably until like A History of Violence. Even that's not that mainstream, and neither is this one really. It's just compared to some of his other films, they're mainstream films. Compared to a lot of directors' stuff, they're not that mainstream. But compared to Crash, they're mainstream. So The Dead Zone is a Stephen King adaptation, which is was very big in the early 80s. So Cronenberg got into doing those films through Dino De Laurentiis, because he was meant to be doing Total Recall. After this, it was like De Laurentiis was a big Stephen King fixation. Cronenberg was a director who was big from his Canadian film, but was moving on because the tax shelter stuff had collapsed, so he was trying to get some American backing for his films. So he was offered The Dead Zone and he took it. It was a very different kind of film from what he did. There was no like mutations, there was no people with strange names, there was no like... There was no just weirdness and exploration of society through disease and through madness. This was like based on a character who started off as a sensible part of society. None of the Cronenberg characters, apart from Shivers and Rabbit, and anybody who started out normal, really. There was always some kind of dysfunction, and even those ones, they quickly got dysfunctional. But for a while, like in Scanners and Videodrome, Cronenberg was taking characters who were strange. Even some of the Fast Company, which was about race car drivers, it was like a weird community of people outside of society. The Brood was about psychotherapy and how it affected a family. So even though the husband was a bit more normal, the wife wasn't, so there was always someone there who was a bit off. And that would move on to what we saw in Crash. But this film, Dead Zone, was a very normal character. Even though because it's Cronenberg, he's played by Christopher Walken. Now I want to point out, Christopher Walken plays a normal guy. That's how weird Cronenberg can get. And this is the Cronenberg film with Christopher Walken is the least weird film I'm doing in double bill. And it's one of the least weird Cronenberg films. That's how strange Cronenberg can be at times. He casts Christopher Walken as a man who's normal. And Walken's great in this film. Walken's really terrific because it starts off as a teacher. He's very quiet, he's very nice. Because he's Walken, you're looking for the twitches even then, but he doesn't do anything odd during that time. He just plays a nice, normal, kind of repressed character. He's pretty much all-American guy. There's nothing weird about him. And then he gets into a crash. Then he's been in a coma for 5 years, and then when he wakes up he's a power to see into the future. If someone holds his hand, he can see the future. If he touches something, he gets some psychic connection, and he's slowly, it starts to drive him mad and makes him disconnected from people, because if he touches anybody, there is a chance he'll get a flash of the future. You know, it can be a very destructive power. So he kind of distances himself from society. And that's when it gets towards Cronenberg, a Cronenberg film. Because watching it back now, after years of seeing it as the more mainstream Cronenberg film, it just looks like a Cronenberg film. Now, it's just because after the first like 20 minutes when you see walking as a normal person before he gets the powers and before he's in a coma, that's the only kind of bit that's not very mainstream, not very Cronenberg. Even later on, there's some political stuff. It still feels weird political stuff a la Cronenberg movies rather than normal film, because it's shot in Canada and it's just a weird insular view in politics rather than something it's apocalyptic but it's still based on people and based on interactions. It's not based on tons of tanks and tons of special effects. It's just a bit people talking and all that kind of thing, which is more Cronenbergian than anything else. Because despite a lot of special effects, Cronenberg likes talk. Cronenberg's really into talk, and he loves having people talk. And you get a lot of that in this film, but you also get atmosphere. This is the first time, he was still working with Mark Irwin here before he moved on to Peter Strzelecki, who would take over from Dead Ringers onwards. But this was from his early films all the way up to Videodrome. His films always had a lower budget and he never had a chance to be that ambitious with the lighting. He did what he could, but there was always like a flat quality to some of the lighting because some of his budget and some of it I think it was this weird cold sci-fi world, and it was just where he was shooting and the concepts and everything felt kind of hollowed out in a really interesting way. It felt like a society that had lost sight of whatever kept it on the ground. It just felt like a society that was floating in an existential panic. In this one, there's not that. It's actually a society that's based on lots more old traditional values, and there's a lot older houses and there's older environments that are slowly changing with the modern world, and it's lit with atmosphere. There's lit with there's probably more money involved, so they can shoot in the winter and get lots of wonderful shots of trees and snow, and all the shots are varied from different landscapes. When you go into the visions, Cronenberg doesn't shoot them any differently from the real world. It's just from the point of view of him in these fantasy worlds, but because they're not fantasy worlds of the future or someone's future, but they're just shot slightly differently in the point of view, not in the lighting, but the lighting, because he's going from somebody who goes to World War II, sometimes he goes to the near future, they're always shot with depth and colour, but varies from the palette of the film, which is a very wintry, snowy, like Norman Rockwell kind of landscape. So it always varies it slightly. But it's the first time Cronenberg got into that, and then we see The Fly. It's a bit flatter than this one, but it's starting to get more nuances in Jeff Goldblum's lab. And then we get to The Dead Ringers. This is when Cronenberg starts to really get behind. When he gets Peter Strzelecki as his DP, that's when his films start to look a lot better and there's more depth to cinematography, there's more mood, even though it's not overdone, because Cronenberg doesn't overdo mood. A lot of other directors, the mood becomes the whole thing. And Cronenberg, the mood's part of the film, but it's not the main thing. I think that's why some of his early films are a bit flat, because he's concentrating on the actors, he's concentrating on the ideas, the effects, on everything. Lighting is just one part of it. Here the lighting sets up the world that's getting mutated by this gift that Johnny Smith has. So they need more time spent on the world to set it up and just to establish it and have it something as a bedrock that he's still hanging on to. Even as we go through the film, he gets more and more distance from humanity, because in the film it's very episodic. Like one thing happens, then another thing happens, another thing happens. There's these little episodes where he meets people in their lives and interacts with them, then moves on. But they're always very interesting, and it's always the story of his friendship with these people and the way that he's always left alone after it. Like there's always something that goes wrong, that partly because of his gifts, partly because of just general real life, and he just gets in the way of him all the time. He never really has a chance to settle down. And also, as you watch the film go on, Walken gets more and more looking like Walken, looking more ill. His hair starts to go very Walken-esque. We just flip back, and he's haunted, and the visions take a toll on him, and he thinks he's slowly dying because his body can't take the visions. That's when it comes really Cronenberg, because it's the idea of mortality, and the thing that's causing his mortality is kindness and his attempt to engage with the world and help the world, but his thing's destroying him, and that's a metaphor that goes through the film. And that's the thing that's just driving him insane, because he's trying his best to help. Every time he tries, he has to deal with people, complex people who have their own point of view. So there's some nice scenes where he meets up with his old flame, Brooke Adams, who was never in enough films. She was always really good, and she was ignored by the mid-80s. That's a wonderful sequence when they finally hook up, but it's too late because she's married, has a child. And that kind of damages him. Then he goes to meet up with, and then he helps a sheriff who's got a problem with a killer who turns out to be his deputy. And we're in a really just dark sequence where there's a sequence with scissors that everyone knows about. It's pretty brutal. It's the most creepiest psychic scene in it, where he goes to the crime scene and suddenly touches something, and he's into the crime itself, and it becomes like he can't stop it, and he's just seeing the horror of the crime as it's happening. He helps someone identify who the killer is, but also it really damages him, and he ends up getting shot in that period, and it distances him even more. There's another sequence where he helps this kid who's isolated to learn and become part of the world, but that doesn't work, because he ends up with a psychic thing where the kid is going to die if he doesn't warn him about the ice breaking somewhere on the lake. He helps the kid survive that, but again it damages him, and finally finds out he ends up shaking Martin Sheen's hand by mistake, who's a presidential candidate who Walken realises is going to cause the end of the world, because he's going to get in eventually, and he's going to actually cause a nuclear Armageddon because he's slightly mad. And that's what causes Walken to finally accept his fate as someone who will die. And eventually he tries to shoot him, misses, fails, but because of what Sheen does, which is hold a baby up to protect himself, that's what causes him to his political career to be over. So it works, but it's a tragedy. It's a big tragedy. The whole thing's a tragedy that Christopher Walken dies, the Johnny Smith character dies. And the whole film is just has a mood of dysfunction below the surface of calm America. That's what makes it a really interesting Cronenberg film. He's taking the conventions of America, and from the book he's like going under the surface with all these people who are dysfunctional, crazy. The communities that have been left behind are small communities, and that they've been left to rot, and they're just slowly going mad. And you see it community after community. People try to build up their own little communities, and some of them are kind, but it's just human dysfunction throughout, and every time Walken deals with it, he just gets more and more damaged, even though he's trying to do good for people, because he's a teacher and he always wants to help, but it always gets in the way. His gift gets in the way, and try to help gets in the way, so it becomes this tragedy of someone trying to fit in and help humanity. It's kind of a metaphor for Cronenberg's career. He tries to do all these films that are different and distinctive and dealing with things that people can't deal with, and he always gets damned for it. Speaking of which, here's Crash. So Crash is Cronenberg's 1996-97 adaptation of J.G. Ballard's novel. Now I read Ballard's novel in about 91, 92, something like that. And it was one of those things I thought, this is really cinematic, but no one's sick enough to make it, because this was before I was going to film school. I was thinking, this better make an amazing film, but no one's crazy enough to make it. Then it was announced Cronenberg was adapting Crash, and I thought, of course it would be him who would do it. And he made his version, and it got banned over in the UK in certain boroughs, which was completely useless because you could get it in video eventually as well, so it didn't really matter. You could just travel to the next borough and see it anyway, and like some places in London try to ban it. So yeah, it was just that moral panic of this disturbed us, so you can't see what we think you shouldn't see. And it's, just stupid. I mean, people should be able to see, adults, it was rated 18, adults can see what they want to see as long as there's nothing illegal in it. There's nothing illegal in this, it's just the ideas are so far out. Because of Dead Zone was about the undertones of society. This is almost like society has mutated beyond what we think is normal to something else. It's almost like a death wish, and a weird mutation of technology into areas that haven't really been mapped, and people who are doing it have all these weird addictions that mean you're seeing these weird escalations of weird psychopathologies. So it's almost like the start of something that's going to develop, which is how mankind connects to technology and how perverse it can be sometimes. Cronenberg would actually go towards psychology and Dangerous Method years later, talking about the beginnings of Freud and Jung. So I mean, he would actually go to the source of that, but here it's about the pathology of technology. And in this film, there's lots of sex and there's lots of crazy technology. It's notorious for what it doesn't have, actually, because the film you think you're going to see when you hear the crash is not the film you get. There's a sense that people think they're going to go in and get titillated by what they're seeing, and they don't. This is a film that's very much like the early Cronenberg films, which is, even though Peter Strzelecki lit it, it's very flat in lots of ways. It's distant. You're not seeing, there's lots of sex scenes, but you're not seeing them for the express purpose of titillation. It's about the pathology of the characters. It's about the pathology of characters who are entrance into something that can't be categorised yet, so you're watching them react. But you're not quite sure what it means sometimes, but you know there's something going on below the surface. And that's what's interesting, scary and weird about the film, and it's, I think it actually plays better now than it did then, because we've actually seen technology over the last 20 years and how it seems to have advanced and made people strange. And I think a lot of what Cronenberg was talking about in the film is now starting to come into mainstream society. People are saying, oh yeah, that's what this is. But at the time it was just, you had some technology like planes, cars and things, videotapes and things, but it wasn't the mainstream way that you have it now, where technology is all over the place in every country. This was before that was, everyone was there, but it was just slowly emerging at that point. And Ballard wrote for this in the 70s because he came from like Asia and the Japanese death camps and all that stuff, where he could see the weird pathology of planes and technology, how human beings had been affected by it even then. And then it's because he was so distant from society, because he wasn't part of the Western society. He came from there, but he was stuck in internment camps for his childhood. So when he came back to the world, he saw it a very distant way. And Cronenberg matches that in the style of the film. It's not very much like the book in the style, but there is a distance, a sense that you're watching an alien culture. It's almost like you're watching a culture that's not quite linked to what you are. It's the same way Shivers had the same thing. You had these people in apartments on Shivers, and they were a bit distant from what you see in society. They were a bit cold and mechanised in a way. And here it's the same way, but it's now going a bit further. There's no like slugging through affecting them to make them sexual. It's just them. It's them affected by a trauma, and then them trying to take the trauma and try and figure out why they're so attracted to certain things that we normally find scary. So the actual plot, there's not much of a plot really. James Spader plays Jim Ballard, obviously the same name as the author. That was in the book as well. And he's in a car crash, and he makes a mistake when he's driving. He's looking at something he's driving. He accidentally goes onto another lane, crashes into our car that's driven by the husband of the Dr. Helen Remington, and so played by Holly Hunter. And basically he dies and both of them survive, but the crash itself has had this weird effect on both of them. Even in the immediate aftermath of the crash, they both feel very sexualised. It's almost like almost dying and not has upped their emotional needs and emotional need for connection. And there's this sense of needing for connection throughout the film. It's a very cool film, but it's very emotional at the same time. It's a very funny film. I saw this at the Edinburgh Film Theatre, and I was in my great audience because everyone got it. And it was just a sense of what should be a disturbing film, everyone was laughing with, and not at, with, and everyone was getting the emotion of the film, and you just sense it in the audience, everyone got the film. It was one of the best experience I've had in the cinema. It's really something. Better film this, what could be this distancing, but it wasn't, everyone kind of got it in this case. But anyway, after the crash, after they're getting better, they start to become obsessed with cars, with car crashes. They become into the circles of Vaughn, played by Elias Koteas, who's this guy who's a bit further on than them. He's had crashes too, and he's now doing recreations of famous car crashes, like the James Dean crash, Jane Mansfield crash, all this stuff. He's really trying to he's making it a show, but it's also a pathological thing. It's almost like these famous people died, and what was it like? It's almost like a movie star crush taken to extremes. It's not about someone who's living healthy. It was like someone who died. You never speak to them, and it's like, it's really weird. In the novel, he did dream of having a crash and crashing into Elizabeth Taylor's car when she was visiting. That was his dream then. In this one, that doesn't happen. But instead, it's much more. He's trying to work out what's up with him. He's trying to work out he's got a support group of people who have the same problem, people having crashes, and are talking to each other, but it's all a very sexualised manner. The way of dealing with each other is through sex. It's a way of connecting, really. And it's not about the more obvious erotic entanglement you'd get in a film. It's much more about a need for each other, a need to try and work out what's going on in their mind. How does technology affect them? How does the distance that technology creates? And it creates a sense in a lot of the sex scenes that they are so distant from themselves that they need this connection somewhere. The technology's pulled them apart from the world and the natural world. But it's also that the thing that's going to get them reconnected, which you see in the world now. People use technology all the time, but also it distances them from people, but it's also their mode of connecting with people, because the people around them they have nothing in common with, so that's a way to connect through the internet. But so it says like there's a kind of mixed signals with technology all the time. It's like it's helpful but it's also hurtful to you. And through this feeling of distance, that's what the film's about. It's just about this kind of sense of how do you connect and what does it mean and where are we going in the future, because it's all about how we're evolving, because this stuff's not going to go away. What's really good about the film is it takes the idea of technology seriously. It's like there's lots of Cronenberg's a bit of a racing nut. Anytime you're in a car with him, he really kind of eroticizes the car moving through the streets. He also has a real affection for the clunkiness of Vaughn's car, which is an old-fashioned car where you can feel the gears moving and everything else just by watching the film. And you're watching through the streets and heading into these more modern, sleeker cars that are a bit more distance from humanity. It's a bit more distance from the function of a car, which is to get from A to B. But now because they want it to be safe and they want it to be, you don't to feel the technology at all when you're driving. It's distanced you from reality in a sense that you're wondering what's wrong with you. That's one thing with the film is that technology distances you so much you actually feel the need to connect in a more brutal, realistic way, a more carnal way. Because you don't have a sense of reality through technology anymore, because everything's too easy. So yeah, there's a sense technology is blocking people from what their sense of reality is, what their instinctual sense of reality is, but it's evolving them in a way that they can't quite understand. So in many cases they go towards like self-destructing and violent acts, like Vaughn seems to be a suicide run eventually, where he's trying to keep his excitement up by hitting other cars and with that kind of self-destruction. Like he can't quite understand his emotions and what he's about. He says he does, and he's talking about it a lot, and talking about the evolution of humankind through technology and And then he kind of throws that away eventually because he's just confused, but he's trying to work it out, and he hasn't quite worked out his angle on it. And neither has anyone else. I mean, there's a doctor played by Holly Hunter who's, you'd think of the most intellectual person, but she's actually the most needy for the kind of to watch the crashes, and it needs the stimulus of the crashes. It's like people who, they know humanity's changing, and they're kind of like the year zero of it, but they haven't quite worked it out, so they're going to make lots of mistakes. And by the end, Ballard and his wife both seem to be in some sort of similar like death wish that Vaughn was on, but it could be something else. It could be they're doing these crashes to try and kind of reunite their lives and try and find something else. It's never quite simple one thing or the other. It's not like, oh, it's definitely a positive thing, or it's definitely a negative thing. It's more confusing. It's more, they don't know what it is either. They're just trying to work out something that's just new, and it's something that's going to evolve with humanity and the way humanity deals with technology and with their tools, because technology is just a tool, so we just have to find out what it actually means to us. And this is a film about the confusion of that, and using sex as the kind of motor for it, because the sex, the idea is that's what gets these people close, and that's how they're trying to connect, because they can't talk. Like, all the tools they've got for talking feels insubstantial to them and feels kind of distancing. So even though the film has this cold feel, it also has these warm moments as well, just warm lights during the night time and things like that, which makes it feel that there's little bits of light of humanity and warmth in there as well. Plus the little group, of course, is very dysfunctional, but it is a warm group, but it's very kind of, you know, messed up. The way a group that gets together for a reason can be. So it's very realistic, even though it's about something that most people would be distanced from. So it's one of those films, I think, Crash is like a masterpiece. And I think it's going to be something that in 20 years time again it'll be even more important. It's that kind of film that's just going to be one of the major works of art from the late 20th century. It's just, it was so early, it was ahead of its time, and it just confused everyone and never got what it was, but I think it's a very important film. So I urge you to go and see it. It's only on DVD at the moment. It really needs a Blu-ray, and it needs the whole Shazam. It needs all the bells and whistles. It needs a proper release, but it doesn't have one at the moment. It's a shame. But even in DVD, it still looks gorgeous. You know, a lot of care into this film. It's really worth seeing. It's wonderful. As is Dead Zone. Dead Zone's almost like the old world. It's going away from us, and Crash is the new world. It's going ahead. So they both feel like Cronenberg films. They seem Cronenberg focus in different parts of life. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy when we're going to go to the Cronenberg series, because I'm very excited about it. So I'll be doing more of them. But I'll be back soon with another epic video. Right, bye.